Hi, my name is Kristen Jankowitz-Strock. I'm an author and a DMC designer. Today we're going to be using one of my very favorite products. It's DMC Color Infusion's Memory Thread. Now, Memory Thread is a soft fiber-wrapped wire that comes in 28 different colors, and it adds a really beautiful texture and dimension to all of your needlework and craft projects. You can check out the DMC website to see other applications on needlework, but today we're going to be embellishing some beautiful silk flowers. This is the design that we're going to be using. It's really easy to create all of these wonderful details and dimension using a really simple technique. Today we're going to be using a plastic knitter's loom, and I'm going to show you how to create the base for this flower right now. We're going to start with some lime memory thread, and I'm going to go ahead and just take the whole thing off of the spool here. Now you'll notice that there are some kinks in your memory thread, but it's very easy to work with and just pull these kinks right out. That's something that you can do, but also we're going to be stretching and pulling on the memory thread in this project, so we can kind of skip over that step. To get started, we're going to make a little loose knot, and I'm leaving maybe a 3-inch tail here because I'm going to use this later. I'm just going to put it over the top of this loom. And then I'm going to start in a clockwise motion. I'm going to come straight down through the middle and simply wrap to the left and continue going around clockwise. It's really easy, and you'll get the hang of it as soon as you start. Now, as I go around, I like to kind of push my petals down to make sure that they'll all be the same length when they come out. And we're just going to keep working our way around. There we go. And I'm going to use up this entire length of memory thread for my base flower. So I'm kind of keeping this memory thread pulled pretty snug. And like I said, it works all those little kinks right out. So I'm going to keep working my way around, so I have about 3 loops on every prong here. And we're done with those 3. So now I'm going to switch to a different color of memory thread, and it's not as hard to do as you would think. So what you're going to do is continue in the direction as if you were going to wrap this around the next prong here. And I'm just going to stick my memory thread straight down. So as you can see, this would be my next move, but I'm going to go down into the center. And I'm just going to pull that. And I'm just going to let this guy kind of hang out there for a minute. Now I'm ready to switch over to my iridescent memory thread. So I'm going to do the same thing and take the whole length off of the spool so that it's easy to work with. And now I'm going to continue from the opposite side. I just put my last piece of memory thread in over here. I'm going to stick it in, leaving myself a little tail. And I'm just going to hang on to these 2 guys together. I'm going to continue weaving as though the last piece of my lime memory thread never ended. So I'm going to pick up right at that same prong there. And this, I want about 2 layers of petals. These are just going to be our pretty details at the top. So as you can see, this whole base of the flower is all using the very same easy technique. And I think I get faster as I go on. I don't know if you'll notice that you do too. But you can pick up some speed. You can tell that you're doing it right because you get kind of a beautiful pattern in the center as well. So now we have our last 2 layers of petals, and we're going to go ahead and stick this straight down. Again, we would have wrapped it around this peg here, so we're going to go down instead through the back. And we're ready to tie off all of these tails. So we're going to flip this thing over, and we've got these loose ends here. Now what I'm going to do is kind of tie these together into a tight, firm knot. There we go. And that'll be really good and stable. Now we want to make sure that as we pull all of these pegs out, that our flower still stays together in the center. So we've got this nice long tail here. And we're going to start by just poking that up through really wherever, just one of the holes. And we're going to keep crossing over. So we're going to go in the next hole that's directly across from that. And we're going to work our way around the same way, clockwise, But instead of using the pegs, we're going to go actually in between them now to get a nice tight center. Gets a little bit easier as your memory thread gets shorter, but it's nice to have these long pieces to really get everything wrapped up nice and tight. Every time that I go down through the center, I just kind of give it a nice firm tug to make sure that we're nice and secure. So we're just wrapping up with our very last one. As you can see, we've got everything really tightly secured here. So we're going to go ahead and flip this over. We can cut away these tail pieces that we already tied off. And I like to be sure to use scissors that I do not use for other needlework. Now I have this great little tail saved, and that's what I'm going to use to tie off my final piece. I'm just going to tie this in a nice secure knot. And we can go ahead and snip these off. Okay, now is the really fun part because our flower comes to life. We're going to go ahead and pull out all of these pegs and set them aside. And the petals already kind of separate as you go around. Okay, so now we have this beautiful flower. It would really be ready to go right how it is now. But what we can do to make it look even better is go around and we're going to kind of use our fingers to open up some of these petals here. Now I'm just, for this one, going to do the top iridescent petals and make those round because I like having the two different textures, sort of a bottom and a top layer to my flower. So you don't have to be really careful. There's not a fine art to this. The memory thread is so workable that you can go back and really correct any problems. Now I think that it already looks spectacular the way that it is now, but we're going to add a really pretty center just to bring all of the colors out and make them pop. Now what I'm going to do is cut several strands from each of my colors of memory thread. I did 8 strands of the pink, and I'll show you they're all about this long, a little over a foot, but it's not exact. So we're going to do about 8 strands of that and get our ends collected together. Set this aside. I'm going to do 4 strands of this lavender color. They look so pretty together. And I'm also going to do 1 strand of the green. Now I've got all of my strands about the same length, and I'm just going to start by twisting them. As you can see, I'm holding my fingers in between to keep the strands separated. You don't have to do that. You can all twist them together loosely, but I like how it really keeps the colors apart so that you can see all of them individually. Now I'm just going to start by twisting. And it doesn't matter what your end looks like, so don't worry about that. But as you can see, it's so beautiful the way that it comes together, and that green strand stays on top and really looks beautiful to bring out that base color on your flower. So I'm just going to twist all of these together, and now I'm going to go back and make the center for my flower. So I'm going to start with the end, and it's such a simple technique. I'm just going to hold my fingers up like this and start wrapping around, following the direction that it naturally wants to twist. If you twist it really tight, it'll start to wrap itself around anyway. And it almost makes like a little bun. So I'm going to do a couple layers, and it's good when you're doing this to stop at several stages in between and use your hot glue gun that's going to hold it together. I really recommend hot glue because it dries so quickly so that you can continue to work. You wouldn't want to hold on to this while you waited for a tacky glue to take a really long time to dry. So I'm just going to flip it over here and take my glue gun. Just going to squeeze some in the center, being careful not to burn yourself, which I often do. We're going to let that dry for just a minute before we continue. It's okay if you have some of these little strings. I think it's just bound to happen. We'll clean them all up at the end. Then we're just going to continue wrapping around so that we have this beautiful center. And at every stage you'll find that you need to stop and do a little bit more hot glue to hold everything. The nice thing is that this hot glue takes a minute to dry too, so it's really workable. While you're waiting, if things come out of place, you can kind of squirt a little bit in there and then hold everything together exactly the way that you want it to be. Now the underside is going to look a little bit messy, but it's okay because we'll glue it down to the center of the flower and you won't see any of that. Keep flipping it over to see how big your center is going to be. That's about the size that we'd like. So we're just getting ready to finish. I'm going to go ahead and clip out these extra center pieces that we don't need. And to end it, I like to do a dollop of hot glue around the entire inside, kind of secure the center here. And then it's really easy to finish off these pieces. It seems like it would be a mess, but we're just going to squeeze out an excess of hot glue in the center, and then just kind of press all of your loose ends into it. Now we're ready to finish our flower. So we're just going to snip off these final pieces, and we have a really lovely center for our flower. So we're going to stick with our hot glue gun and put a big dab right in the center of our flower. This will secure everything really perfectly. And then I kind of like, while I'm waiting for my glue to dry, I'll work my way around and make some of these petals even more dimensional. I love the look of having two different layers on my flower. Now it looks beautiful the way that it is already, but we're going to go ahead and finish our assembly in the middle of our silk flower. Now we're going to continue in the exact same way with our magical hot glue gun. Just put a big dollop in the middle so we make sure it's nice and secure. And then we'll stick our flower right in the center. It looks so lovely. Nobody would ever believe that you made that yourself. And it's really pretty quick and easy as well. Now you can do this with all different colors and styles of flowers. As you can see here, we've even left some in a vase, which is really lovely for around the house. There are lots of different things that you can do with these after they're done. I really like to put them on packages. My friends expect a lot from my gifts, so I think that it really jazzes up an ordinary bow. Another really fun thing is to wear them. As you can see here, I have examples of a lot of different closures that are wonderful. You can use this jewelry pin to put this straight onto your clothes or a jacket or cardigan. Also very fitting is a florist pin. It's really easy to go ahead and hot glue your flower onto any of the variety of options. These alligator pins are really handy. It's so popular right now to wear flowers in your hair, but nobody expects something this dimensional and vibrant. So we've got some traditional clips as well as combs. The uses are really endless. I hope that you have a lot of fun trying this project on your own. You can get as wild and crazy with it as you want, or just stay to the basic weaving technique. Either way, you'll come out with a tremendous result. Have a lot of fun choosing from all of DMC's colors. You can find directions on how to make these memory thread flowers on the memory thread section of the DMC website at dmc-usa.com.